time for Jessica and Tasia on Hindsight Radio.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to the Divine Connection Show, where we divinely connect with you. This is Jessica
and Tasia.
How's everyone doing out there today?
How's your week going?
Hope everything's going well. Things have been going okay with us. And so we wanted to talk about, we wanted to talk a little bit about planting, kind of like indoor gardening and what to do at this time. Because what I usually say this is a no-waste season. Like, because of everything that's going on during the pandemic, it's like we got to be a bit more resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
So what better time than to do the things that you've always wanted to do? Like for me, I wanted to do a garden, and I just clearly never had the time or create the time to do it. I've always wanted to grow my own herbs, do like water, hydroponic gardening, and little things like that.
Yeah, I think we got away from gardening because I know, like, my grandparents, that's what they did. You know, that's how they got their food. So I think we got away from it, and I think now we're getting back to it because we want to know where our food's coming from. We want to know that our food has not been sprayed, that it's not GMO.
Yeah.
Like, we are getting back to growing our own food. And I just been feeling a push to do more of that, especially with them talking about how food is going to be scarce. So today we'll have some good pointers for you guys in moving in that direction.
Yeah, so I know for me, some stuff is very simple. Like if you buy green onions, you just put that in a cup of water, the bud, the end of it, the white part, put that in a cup of water, and then eventually the green thing, it will sprout. No, it will grow roots so you can plant it, but it will also sprout new green onions, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting. And it's pretty cool because a yellow onion, or like the sweet onion, it can do the same thing. Like if you cut it in half, or not just in half, you have the end and you put it in some water and grow roots. Or if you just plant it, it will grow green onions up out of it, like little baby onions, smaller ones. Yeah, so I was interested in doing my own gardening, but I wasn't sure how much of a green thumb that I had. So I was given a peace lily when someone passed away in my family, and then that was in 2016, and I was able to I have that peace lily, so I'm doing something right. I didn't know anything about that plant.
It has benefits, doesn't it?
Yeah, peace lilies are air purifiers. They purify the air, like detox, like formaldehyde and all kind of other things.
Mm-hmm.
It helps, so it's a good plant to have in your house. If you're looking to put in your home, you can look up some air purifying plants. And so peace lily is that, and I like the name, of course. And so, I looked up how to take care of it, and I watered it. It's one of those plants that are low maintenance. So if you need a starter plant, that's a low maintenance plant. You only need to water like once or twice a week, and it needs light, but not direct sunlight, just indirect sunlight. And you just never know. You may get like little lilies blooming, new leaves. It had gotten really big, and then I don't know. I really don't know what happened. I don't know if it was climate change, and I remember when it started to look like it was dying. It was just like I thought it was going to die, but it's still holding on. I was able to cut off the dead leaves and repot it, or do sometimes you just have to I call it refurbishing the soil. So change out the dirt, and then it's still holding on. Like, it's not, like, super big, but it's still, like, it's average size. But then I got another one, and that one's a bigger one, and that is still holding on. We've had that for a while, since, like, August. But someone I know had 2 large peace lilies, and they didn't know how to take care of it. And I found them. I was cleaning the church, and they were put in the back in direct sunlight. Like, I know they were trying to save them, but they were actually hurting them. They were placed in direct sunlight, and they were, like, dead, dried up, about to die. It's like whatever's left of them, because peace lilies, they start to, like, you can tell when they're thirsty or when they need water, because they start to hang over. It doesn't mean that they're dead, but there were some dead leaves on there. So I just took them home, and I revived them. And my friend had just taught me about compost tea. So I also compost, because, like I said, I want a garden, and I'm also, like, kind of like a go green kind of person when I can be. Still trying to work on shrinking my carbon footprint, but so I've been composting for like 2 years, and so she told me about compost tea. So you just let the water drain. Since I actually have a composting bin, when it rains, just leave a tray underneath and let the drippings go in there, and then you just take a little bit and dilute it, because compost tea is kind of like very potent nutrients,
Okay, so how do you make this compost tea? Like, what do you do? What is composting? What is that?
Composting is, that is where you take your scraps, food scraps, but like vegetable food scraps or fruit food scraps.
Back to your no waste.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't like to waste anything. So when it comes to scraps, when it comes to composting, you mix your browns and your greens. And so your brown is more like your carbon, and your green is more like your nitrogen. So browns are like dead leaves. So like dead leaves from your plants, or leaves from outside, branches, and twigs. And then the green, like the nitrogen, would be like grass clippings, like your vegetables and your fruits. So you just put all those together. For me, I have a bin, so I just like put it all in there and then just turn it. You can turn mine. But before I had the bin, I was composting or going to compost with a 5-pound bucket. My friend was telling me to get a 5-pound bucket, and you could just do it that way. And actually, I do it at home, like daily, like whatever's on the counter. I already have like a little bucket or a little cup that I put the scraps in, and so I take it outside and put it in my composting bin. But you can compost inside. It's just I think about like the smell and stuff. Mm-hmm. But before, if I didn't feel like going outside, like if it was cold or winter or something, I would just put my scraps in a Ziploc bag or a grocery bag and put it in the freezer. And then when I feel like it, I would put it out in the composting bin. But one thing's for sure, I did not put them in the garbage. I just can't do it when I know it could break down and become dirt. And people pay good money for compost. They pay good money for composting tea. So all of that stuff breaks down, and then you have nice, new, rich soil, So when the plants needed revived, I just felt like it was like an ICU situation. So I took some of the compost tea, and how you make the tea is that you take water from your compost. So like as you fill up with water, if there's for mine, like when it rains, just let the drippings fall through and land in a pan, put it in a jar. And then if you really want to be resourceful, you can put it in a ice cube tray. And then when you need one, you just take it out and then, let it melt. Fill it up like a pitcher of water or something, whatever you're going to water, depends. But you have to dilute it because it's very rich, depending on how, what stage your compost is in. And I know recently when I cut the grass, I put like a good heaping amount, like a bag full of grass clippings in there. And I was thinking that the thing is full now. But like I said, I've had that thing for 2 years, and it's just, like I looked in there the other day, it's just broken down. Like, so, you know, you got to constantly tend to it, though, like, not like constantly, but regularly tend to it, turn it, and things like that. Yeah, so.
So as far as using composting for soil, why would you use that opposed to just soil that you buy at the store?
Well, it's better because it's more organic. You know, like just like you said, you want to know where your food is coming from. You know exactly what's in that. Like I know exactly what's in there because I put it in there. You know what I mean? Or you know, so yep, you want to do that as opposed to putting the stuff in the landfill. Like the landfill is full of crap. I mean, it's really bad. Like things don't break down as well as if it was like in the regular environment, or even like for my compost. If you throw that stuff in the landfill, it has nowhere to break down. It's not in the environment, you know, in this rightful environment. It's not like in the woods or something. It's like a place, a station with all types of waste. And a lot of stuff that gets sent off to the landfill can be recycled. So I try to recycle. I try to do like no plastic bottles because, I mean, it's just like the oceans are filled. There's so many plastic bottles in the ocean and other things, we know that. But when I saw, like, how many bottles people are, like, because they make it their mission to, like, save the marine life. I mean, I saw, like, how much they were, like, pulling up out of the water. It was just crazy. It was amazing. So
yeah, they say we ain't going to be able to eat fish here in
15
years.
And, yeah, actually in 2050. There is going to be 937 tons of plastic waste in the ocean. And then there's going to be like 895 million tons of fish, I think. And whatever I was reading, it was like it was going to be more waste than fish.
More waste than fish, so we are not going to want to eat that, whatever comes out of the ocean.
I mean, the bad thing is, if I learned that plastic, so I thought, you know, it took like 100 years for plastic to break down or decompose. It turns out plastic never decomposes. It actually just breaks down to little smaller plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it may look like it's gone or something, but it never broke down, like, for the cycle of life. It doesn't do anything for us. Like, you know, like, as opposed to an orange peel that breaks down, the plastic does not. So it's best I try to recycle, but I didn't know that. I thought eventually it just decomposed, but it does not. And that was disappointing because it's like we're always going to, I mean, they're using plastic unless we, the people, change it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just crazy. And I met some people that came to our job, and when I worked with the homeless and drug addicts and stuff like that, and they used to donate blankets, and they told us to make sure we recycled our plastic bottles because they made those blankets out of plastic bottles. So I think that's a good thing to recycle and, you know that your bottles are getting used with something or something greater. Mm-hmm. So I like to do no plastic bottles, rather use a filter, you know, as best I can. I can't say I'm like no plastic at all, but I like to use reusable bottles, reusable items, but I still have a long ways to go. So, but anyway, yeah, so the landfill, it's not designed to break down waste, so it only stores it, it houses it. So in that case, it takes longer for things to decompose, and then it takes like 1,000 years for plastic. in the landfills to break down. And then plastic bags, it takes 10 to 20 years. And plastic bottles per se, it takes 50 years. So in aluminum cans, it takes 80 to 200 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, and well, glass, it doesn't decompose at all. It will take 1 million years, is what they said. It would take, like, in the environment, it would take 1 million years. And, I found out that glass is actually made of sand. So it's better just to recycle it because you can break down, like, even, like, little pieces of glass, you break that down and create new glass, So it's just better to just put that in your recycling bin or use it, because I know now that if you're planning on gardening, if you're planning on starting anything, you should keep your jars. Like for me, I wanted to go get I wanted to do something, and I wanted those cute little mason jars, the one with the little clamp. And then I thought, like, why do I want those things? I can use exactly what I have. If you need to store some rice on your counter or something, be resourceful, some beans, or pickled something, or, anything. Just use the jars you got from spaghetti sauce. Or when you make your own spaghetti sauce, put that in a jar. And when you're ready to plant something, put that in a jar or grow something. Like, I have a carton, a jug from, like, I think it was, like, some organic orange juice that was given to us. And I almost threw the whole jug in the recycle bin. But then I was like, I'm going to be resourceful and use these things. So I actually cut the tops off and created a bowl. I'm like, I don't need it right now, but I'm going to need it. But so I wanted to start growing a pineapple plant. So what I did was I needed something. I didn't have anything on hand, and the jars are too small, per se, the ones that I had on hand. So I just grabbed that little jug, the bottom of it, that I had cut it, and I just left the bottom of it. And that is to house my pineapple, the top of my pineapple, so I can create a plant, because I want to plant. So we'll see how that goes as far as what grows, so that I know it can, like, grow roots if you keep it in the water. Some people just plant the top completely. They just plant it in dirt. So I have plenty of pineapples to try either way. And, like, I did the same thing with beets. So beets are really good for you. And with my no-waste self, I'm thinking in this time I got to try to grow something and grow some type of food. And I actually recently bought some beets because I planned to juice them, and I didn't get to juice them, but I didn't want them to go to waste. So I ended up making, like, beet fries. And so I just seasoned them with some kind of seasoning. I was looking for cumin, but salt and some other seasoning. But I have so much fresh vegetables and so much green leafy vegetables. I just put the leaf part in the salad, cleaned it really well, and put that in the salad. And beets are so good for that. I was like, well, when it comes to certain scraps, there's some scraps you can actually save and preserve, like the green onion. So I decided to put the top of the beets inside of these cups that I have, and for those to sprout, just like the green onion will start sprouting, so will the leaves of the beets. Those can sprout too. And then once those start to sprout, and then they also can grow roots. So with consistency, changing the water every so often, and then sunlight, we'll see what happens. So I have quite a few to do a test and trial thing, but that was my plan. I'm like, well, we're always eating salad, so why not have some green leafy? And then if I could figure out how to grow beets, then I'll do that too. I was looking into it. But one thing, I know beets are very, very good for you. And I forgot because I used to juice a lot back in the day. I'm just now coming back to doing that. But years ago, I used to juice a lot. So with not using my knowledge or constantly practicing it, I lost it. So I was like, beets are really good for something I cannot remember. Because I do remember when I used to make green juices all the time, that I would use one slice of a beet. It would turn the whole thing purple. It would be like 10 ounces of green juice. One small beet, the whole thing turned purple. So I'm like, that is a powerful vegetable. So I ended up looking up the benefits of beets, and I came across on Healthline where it said that beets help keep your blood pressure in check. So there's a systolic and there's a diastolic. So the systolic number, the systolic is the number on top. So, you know, when they say they want your blood pressure to be below 120/80, 120, that's the part, that's the systolic. And the diastolic is the bottom number, the 80. So it says that it's a little bit better with the systolic. So people that have blood pressures is in the 160s over something, then it's going to help with that 160, bring it down. Because that's the part of your heart that contracts. That's the pressure of your heart that contracts the most. And then your diastolic, that's more like when your heart is, you know, supposed to be relaxed. So it helps with that. And also it helps athletes, or not just athletes, athletic performance. So I thought that to be interesting because it has dietary nitrates in it, and that helps with the mitochondria DNA. Well, mitochondria, which is used for your energy cells. So eating beets, they help improve your energy level. But you have to eat it, like if you're going to do something extensive, if you're going to do like biking, cycling, athletic performance, basketball, track or something, it nitrates, the blood nitrates peak within 2 to 3 hours. So you may want to consume it at least 2 to 3 hours before you're going to train or compete. I thought that was interesting. And they say that it could help with inflammation, digestion, and brain health. So I found that to be interesting too, because mental and cognitive functions decline naturally with age, and eating beets can help with that. Or beet powder, they make pills, beet pills, you know. Yeah, so with the because I know it helps with circulation too. So when you get older, when there is a decline, there's a lack of oxygen to the brain, so it helps the oxygen supply to the brain. You know, so but yeah, so I mean, helps with diabetes and things like that. But what got me the most with this, when I had read that it helps improve blood flow to the frontal lobe. Actually, let me read verbatim what it said. It says, beets have shown to particularly improve blood flow to the frontal lobe of the brain, an area associated with higher level thinking, such as decision-making and working memory. I'm going to read that one more time. Beets have been shown to particularly improve blood flow to the frontal lobe of the brain, an area associated with higher level thinking, such as decision-making and working memory. I was like, yeah, everybody needs to be eating. Everybody needs to eat beets. But also, you know, your frontal lobe doesn't fully develop until you're in your 20s. So, like, if you have any children that, teenagers that yeah, they're just young adults, don't always have the right thinking, or you can tell that their decision making is off, or that it's underdeveloped, you know, help them by giving them beets. Now, beets a hit or miss. A lot of people do not like, well, I can't say a lot of people, but there are quite a few people that don't like beets, but there are a lot of people that do like beets. So you just got to figure out how are you willing them? Like, what is your tolerance level? Like, you can buy pickled beets, and for me, I baked those little beet fries I made. Those, when you bake them or roast them, it brings out the sweetness, and then you can always bake them to a crisp or, yeah. So, I don't know. You just got to dock them up, put you maybe some, I don't know, balsamic vinegar or something. But, I mean, just get it in. Like, pickled beets, put those on your salad or something.
She'll have, like a few times a week you should incorporate
You
it.
can have them anytime you want, all day. Or, you know, my dad loves beets, so he could eat them every day. He said when he was a kid, he used to pull them up out of the ground and just eat them, like clean them off and eat them. I hated beets growing up. And my dad would sometimes put them on our plate, and I just hated it, like pickled beets. But I wanted to be like him, so I don't know. I tried to eat them, and then growing up, I mean, now that I'm grown up, I should say, I mean, I can tolerate them a lot better. So I don't know. Just encourage your kids to eat them or drink them. So just add them to your juice. They'll eat them then or drink them then. And, of course, they say that they have anti-cancer properties. So, you know, because it's antioxidant. But, you know, when they put things online, they can't say that it is a cure for – they got to be careful with their wording. So I was looking up. They had like 9 ways that the beets can help, but it says it may have some anti-cancer properties. But I just read it as it has some anti-cancer properties, that it does help you lose weight or, you know. So it's pretty interesting. I mean, high in fiber, folate, and vitamin C, and I've also known
vitamin C.
Yeah, and then folate is very important for people that are pregnant, and it's like the real, because they give you folic acid, which is more like, you know, man-made B vitamin, and then folate is like a real B vitamin, and that you get from foods. But they say that both are just as good. I was looking at that earlier too. But I know it helps pregnancies and things like that. But I also have heard of testimonials, like when I was in a group function, of people that have became pregnant when they increased their intake of beets. Mm-hmm. So people that were dealing with infertility, that might be a resource to use. Go ahead and eat some beets, or just take like beet powder or something that they make. But yeah, all kinds of ways. So anyway, so yeah, but there's all kind of can do to be eco-friendly, and you know, that's what I've been doing anyway, you guys. Trying to figure out life and try to be ahead when it comes to this pandemic. When things are unpredictable, I don't want to be thrown way off. I don't want to you know, be caught off guard or act like I didn't know anything. So I just want to try. I mean, it doesn't hurt. I mean, we got a little extra time on our hands these days sometimes, some of us. So I just wanted to be resourceful.
Oh, yeah. It's important, too. It all trickles down from your health. It trickles down to your mood, your emotional health. It all trickles down to your spiritual health, your mental health. It has an effect on it. And We need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves and being on top of it, and even these little things with planting and our food and what we're intaking
and where we're putting our waste. I was just really surprised. Like, you guys can look stuff up later. I actually tried to calculate my carbon footprint. But there's websites out there. But I was really surprised just to see, like, you know, I think the quickest thing that decomposes in the landfills is paper, but it still takes, like, from 2 to 6 weeks to, like, decompose. But if you recycle it, you still save space in the landfills. It was just crazy. Like, I mean, from styrofoam cups to milk cartons that take like 5 years, cigarette butts take 10 to 12 years. It was just, So I don't know. I feel like we also owe it to the earth to do our best to keep it running. I mean, there's no reason why we should be running out of food. And I know I actually knew somebody that agreed with the GMO seeds, and I couldn't believe it, because I learned years ago about Monsanto owning all the corn seeds and putting farmers out of business if they wouldn't take on, you know, their seeds, the genetically modified seeds. But one guy told me, he was like, there's just too many people. The world is just too many people and not enough food, but that's not. That is a whole nother subject. Like, no. And we have plenty of land to have plenty of farms. There's so much land we don't even live on, you know? There's like a cutoff. Like, have you guys ever noticed when you're in an airplane?
Green, you see all the green?
Green or brown. That's land.
Yeah.
I mean, we just limit it to where we are, but there's land. And it's not like land, now we see it more because we're in the air and there was a body of water between it. There's land where there's no body of water, you know, and there will be more jobs too. So, but.
Yeah, and I think like what Akeem was saying about the pots.
Oh, yeah.
We need to start getting those
that
pots.
was right on time.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, those pots that are
self-watering pots.
Yeah, on a timer, and then that would be a good investment. And that was funny that the opportunity presented itself when we were already talking about growing our own food and starting to do this in-home gardening. You know, you can build your own flower beds too. So, or gardening station, you can even put it on wheels and put it in the front or in the back or something. But
you can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I'm going to
what's
talk
up, y'all?
today.
What's going on?
Oh, hey.
Hi.
What's up,
Nothing much.
Hi.
Nothing much. I just wanted to comment on the fact that we don't have enough space. When people say we don't have enough space, those are people who depend on a government to supply them their needs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're run by a government and they're controlling your food supply, they control your water, they control your electricity, they don't have the know-it-all to handle more than a certain amount of people. Give you a perfect example. They supply electricity to people in rural areas, right? I mean, there's people way out in the country, they get the electricity there somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But in those rural areas, they don't get the water to them, the municipal water. So those areas, they dig a well, and that's how they get their water, out of the ground, people in the country. So those people are healthy.
Right.
They're drinking the water. It's not handled by the city. No real filter on it. Just a pump getting it out. And that water, they take baths with that water, and they're pretty healthy with it. So you really don't need a municipal water supply to supply you water. Because all they do is take sewage and recycle it in most states, right?
Right.
So there's water under the ground for all those people in the country that's just put their own little private well and they get it. And if that well dries up, they go dig a new one. And the average, I know people that live in the country, those wells last 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
Or if they ever go dry. I'm very rare I
Right.
go dry. So, because when you get rain, it gets into the ground and it gets goes all the way down. And there's actually a river running under so many feet deep that you could tap into. So there's water under us at all times. But when they want to control you and, we got a water shortage, we got this, and you're going to have, they got us depending on them for our basic needs, water, electricity. Right. And so if you were to move out into somewhere, you can supply your own electricity now because now they got solar panels you can hook up.
Yep.
You can do all of that yourself, but they don't want you to do it. They don't want people to know that all of the stuff that they're supplying, you could do for yourself. This is why when someone tries to collect rainwater in these little municipalities, they try to fine them. No, you can't do that. Because why? Because when people catch on, that's going to eliminate them. Those small group of people making all of the laws want to stay in power. And the only way they stay in power is if we believe that they have the power, that we need them. And if people haven't figured out by now with this shutdown that you don't need the government to survive. You don't even need that job that you had. Because people are still surviving without the job. They let them send them home. And people are still, they're making it somehow. They figured it out.
Yeah. Did you hear about the guy that invented the water system by taking the moisture out of the air? He was a brown man that came up with that. And
I heard something about that.
He has them in like Flint, Michigan, and the Bahamas and places like that. And I remember I was trying to figure out how you can get one, but at the time it was one of those things that you could not buy them. It was like I want to just say like government protected or something. I felt like, I don't know. They're just water generators, but I can't remember how you can get. Well, we can't get them unless somebody can just go ahead and invent a smaller one where you can just have one at your house. But, they, like you said, they want to control. It's definitely a controlling thing. Like they said that right now they're just being placed in certain really rural areas where it's a need, and people like line up going to go get that fresh water, literally water from the air, the moisture in the air.
Right.
And there's like tons of water when they turn the thing on. I'm like, really? And we're paying for bottled water. That's crazy. When water is all around us, they can't stop the rain. You know what I mean? They can't stop. Well, they can't stop the season.
Digging a well on your property is not that expensive. I know. Well, it's been a while since I priced them. I know back in the day it was like $900 to dig a well, and they'll put the pump in and everything. Yeah, all they do is drill down into the ground and put a pipe in there that'll bring the water up. And you need a pump to draw the water up.
But bring it to your house, though, right?
Well, no, that's to drill it. Now, if you want to do all of the plumbing to your house, that's a whole nother story. So people who live in suburban areas, some people, they don't tell the city that they dig a well. They'll dig a well just to water their grass so they don't have a high water bill. And it's hooked up to the irrigation system. So, it's not a big deal to a well because the pipe that they use is not. It's a long one, but the diameter of it is not that wide. I forgot how many inches it is, and that pump just sucks it up. The only problem you'll have with a well is digging yourself a well is freezing during the winter. You got to keep it warm. That pump.
How you do that? Buy some foam pads or something?
They get like little heaters and put it out there during the winter when the temperature drops. Put it in because the well they'll put something over it like something that looks like a fake stone.
Oh, the actual well.
You've seen it. No, I'm not talking a well like you put a bucket down there. I'm talking about the well I'm talking of is one they bore into the ground to tap into that water source.
Right. That's the one I'm thinking of too.
No. So you see those wells, you just didn't know that they were wells because they cover them up so you don't see the pump.
I think I've seen them at the camp I used to go to because I know we was told we had well water. They were just off in the country, a bunch of land, and we could hear it too down below where not far from the pool actually. Right. It was more like machinery.
Like some old houses still have like septic tanks and well water, and even in the suburban areas because they're old neighborhoods. So the only thing with those with a septic tank, you got to get it drained every so often. Keep an eye on it.
I know there was a thing we had one.
Part of it. Yeah. But I think that's the best way to go. When you start relying on them to do everything for you, it's a problem.
Yeah. I mean,
you're gonna ration your water. That's why I say, if you have a house, start looking into drilling your own well. So if they start messing with the water, you got a well out there.
That makes sense. That makes
Before
sense.
they start creating laws to prevent you from doing it, because right now they're trying to do away with all kind of rights that are protected by the Constitution. And it's not that they're doing away with it; they're just making laws saying, okay, you can't have religious exemptions anymore. But they know people don't read the Constitution. They can't. That law is null and void because the Constitution says otherwise. You can't abridge my religious freedom. Now, what they could do is say, well, your child can't come to our school if they don't have shots. Now, that is another argument. So, but that's not a bad deal. So I don't have to bring my child to school. I'll teach it off.
Yeah, I guess so.
There's always a way around it, but people are just too dependent on governmental authorities to take care of their basic needs. And if you get people get out of that dependence mindset, this whole situation we're in now wouldn't be such a big deal. The only reason why people are upset is because controlled like I used to be controlled. Well, it's a different form of control, but I don't like this control, but I want that control. So no independent thinking whatsoever. None.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true. It's like you have to untrain what's been trained. We were trained everything in elementary school.
That the government has our best interest at heart.
We were trained in elementary school.
Like,
if the government has your best interest, how come we don't have more millionaires?
Exactly.
Coming out of these schools, right? A lot of your guys who've made a lot of money didn't finish school. That says a lot.
Be the ones that drop out of high school.
Bill Gates, who's in charge of all of this vaccine stuff, he didn't finish college. He created windows in his college dorm. He skipped class. And he actually spoke at one, I think his alma mater, he spoke there. He can't go back and speak again because he basically told them you don't need a college education to be successful.
Yeah,
they didn't like that because college is a
think about it.
It's
You could be done
2
with
years
school
of filler
after.
course.
Huh?
You're going to be taking 2 years of courses that does not have anything to do with what you went to school for. At least sometimes 2.5.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I was
These
thinking,
are required. That's the biggest scam. That's a scam. Why am I taking classes that I don't need to do
that's
this?
every
What I
freshman's
came
argument. Every
Hmm?
freshman's argument when they make you take a music class.
That's a scam. That's more money.
Mm-hmm.
To help you be well-rounded. Let me get well-rounded on my own. Give me the education that I need. People would, to tell you the truth, they would make more money if they just let people take the college courses that they needed.
Yeah, that's so true.
And let them go.
Because
they'll be cycling
flooded.
kids through. Boom, 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 boom. You see? They be in and out of there, and they're on to the next one.
Well,
But
and they may
just-
bankrupt some of the courses because they're like, oh, people don't take this. Yeah, it's not needed. Bye.
It's just, you're giving people a job that they don't, it's just a big waste of time. A lot of the stuff you went to school for, you don't even remember it. You remember teachers, but you don't remember the curriculum, what you actually learned.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the degree that I have, I don't even use. I'm not even in that field. I have a degree in something else for something different that I'm in right now. And then sometimes I don't even care what your degree's in as long as you got your bachelor's.
They just want you to have it. They just want you to have that credential. Or to show that to them, they say that shows that you will finish what you start. And your amount of, it's a term that they use, because when I hire people, this is the term that they use. Person will stay with us longer because they went and finished school. But really what they're saying is you are a better candidate to be a slave. I can control you better. That's really what they're saying when they say that. And I said that in one of our board meetings. I said, y'all just really want better slaves. Because, if a person who didn't finish school, has a tendency, they're going to be looking elsewhere. They're going to be looking to make more money than what you're going to pay. This job is not going to be the end of the line for them. They're not looking at it that way. Somebody but with a person with a degree, they're most likely to want to please the bosses and live up to their expectations and be a lifelong employee, So they're like, you that's negative. I said, that's the truth. Call it what y'all want, but this is, y'all want better people who don't buck the system. That's what you want. Somebody easier to manage. So,
Yeah,
they train you to have that certain mindset, like, okay, go to school, got to get good grades.
And you got to go to college. When I try to, the women at my job, they're just like against it. When I'm like, you don't have to go to college anymore. The times have really changed. Like when we were growing up, it was, you must go to college in order to be somebody. But I don't even hear like people around me, like be older adults, not saying anything about, my child has to go to college. They have to get a college education because now, it's really well known now that these young people are not going to college. Like they're not making it because they went to college.
But then you do go to college and then they're like, now you need your master's.
Yeah, it's like pointless to even have an associate.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just crazy. The times have really changed from when we were growing up and even before that. So even the ladies at my job, they're like, oh no, some of them are still like, yeah, I'm not going to go for that. My kid does have to go to college. I'm like, don't you realize like that's changed? Like the amount of debt has changed. Like people are getting into debt, and we know there's a whole thing around that. But still, like they're accumulating this debt that's much different than when our grandparents and our parents went to school.
Mm-hmm.
It's much different. Like I read a book called Strapped, and it was saying how the minimum wage back when our grandparents were coming up, it was made so that the man can take care of his whole household. You cannot make it now on minimum wage. Like you could be able to make it plus some on minimum wage back in the day, like grandparents' age. That's why, like most of them, they didn't have a college education, but they don't look. They all got houses. You know, they were living comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it's just changed. So people have to keep up with the times and the change. And yeah, it used to be a thing. You used to look good, you know, have your college education, but also let them go with the times. A lot of entrepreneur stuff is taking off as well. And there's just different avenues and different ways of making money now. And there's different needs. And a lot of these young people are very tech savvy. It's a digital world, so they can make it. And the ones that are still screaming education, you know, they're older and they're not really savvy. And they also refuse to accept the change that's happening. Like you got to roll with the current, you know, and that's just the way it is. I mean, sorry, you wasted your time going to school, going to college, you know, if you did it for the experience, I hope it was worth it, you know, but it's not the same now. Like, I can't say, like, oh, my kid has to go to college, like, when I start having kids, because the times have changed. Hopefully, you know, and honestly, this is something I thought about, and I know people won't go for this, but, okay, you get your GED, right? How long does it take to get a GED?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know? It doesn't take 4 years.
No,
it's
if you know the answers, you could just take the test and just schedule a time for the test.
So after
there's no
school,
prerequisites or anything that you need to do.
After middle school, you go get your GED, you be ahead of the game. You can either go straight to college or, I don't know, you can be a grown-up, you can go get your job. All you need to go to college, all you need to get a job for your, you know, they only need a high school diploma or a GED, which was just as good. But people are not going to go for that because, no, my kid has to graduate high school. I mean, granted, look, they're frontal lobes, so it's fully
they
developed.
still need that maturity.
But if a kid drops out in 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade, they'll be all right.
Yeah, it's not
and if they can still go to college, they may be ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like your child is taking 4 years. Like they could be going to college. I don't know. People don't say to knock off some years. But now I know kids are graduating with college degrees, too.
In high school.
Yeah, they're graduating from high school with associates. I mean, even when I was taking classes, there were some high schoolers in my class. And I'm like, wow, times have changed. Mm-hmm. You know, so, you know, there's a way around. And there's some little shortcuts in there. If your kid is in school, make sure they're taking classes that's going to go towards their college education, their degree. And they don't have to spend 4 extra years, you know, depending on whatever it is they want to do. Because, granted, college does have opportunities. I mean, you're not going to go and get any engineering skills just out here. I mean, I'm not saying you can't, but you're afforded some resources, you know. So whatever. But like Akeem said, if I could just go in and take those courses, that would be better than you making me take a music class, making me take this reading class, making me take these extra classes. Mm-hmm. Economics, what was it that everybody had to take? It's just like these random prerequisites. Communications, you know.
You had to take some
like,
type of political class, all this crazy, just stuff you're not going to use or even care about.
Yeah, you just,
I can understand some math and some English, you know.
Right.
Even that leaves you. When they start getting into those formulas, you know it enough to take the final, and then after that, bye. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, forget all that.
Like, do you remember distance formulas? Like, calculus. I mean, but some people, I know some friends that are like mathematicians. They love it. I mean, that's everybody has their thing.
Mm-hmm.
That one is not my thing. All of those random facts and formulas. Nope. But, yeah, so, yeah, we have somebody with their hand up. I'm not sure if they still want to talk, but
it looks
we have
like
someone.
it,
40807.
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Good. Hello.
Hi.
How are
you guys had a really good. I'm good. Thank you. How are you all?
We're doing good.
Yeah, good.
Good. It was a really good show tonight. I will say I kind of stepped in late because I was baking cupcakes for my husband's birthday, but it was
Happy birthday. Quarantine birthday. Another quarantine birthday.
Another one, yes. So this should be fun tomorrow. But I really liked the, I think I popped in right around like when you guys were talking about the beets and all of the good things that they do for us. And it's really funny because I've never liked them, could never eat them, but I drink them.
Yeah.
I juice them all the time. You know, I started the juicing, and so and that's what I make my kids drink them as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I give them maybe a little something extra with it because the beet is pretty powerful, but
it is powerful.
No, I thought it was a really good show. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's funny you were talking about, I'm not sure who was speaking at the time, and they were talking about like all of the jars and the different things to do with them. Yeah. I actually started keeping my jars as well, and I make my own vegetable broth. So I use them to store my vegetable broth in.
Yes, I make my own vegetable broth as well, and I put it in a jar and I put it in the freezer.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do with mine too. Yep, I stick them in there, and then I'm like, oh, we're running out in the refrigerator. Go ahead and grab some out. Throw, let it start thawing. Yes. So that was really awesome.
Exactly. Yep.
I do have a couple of questions. Maybe the earlier part of April, I sat through a webinar of Akeem's, and I've started filling out the passport application. There's no more apples. And I had a question about that and an additional form, if that's okay for tonight.
Okay, you said an additional form for the application?
Yeah. Well, it's a form that I was thinking that I could make because one of my sons, his dad travels a lot for work. So I was wondering if I could use this form as his, because now let me preface that my son already has a passport. We've already been through the application once, but of course we did not do it this way. So I know I have to turn his original passport in, and I don't know if his dad has to come to this second session for me to fill out the or for him to sign off on it as well. But I noticed when I was looking at the DS-11, when I was filling it out for myself, and it talked about what was required for a minor, they brought up this DS-3053 that the parent who doesn't come to the passport office can fill out and have notarized and kind of act as the signature on the application. Do you all know anything about that?
I have not.
Yeah, I know plenty about that.
Oh, okay.
I know that I know a lot about that. Follow the directions.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to answer that.
Okay.
You have to follow those directions. That's a form that is required if the other parent is not going to be there, so a child is not taken out of the country without the other parent's knowledge.
Okay. Now, is that form still required if he already has a passport? Because obviously, again, we have a passport for him, so he knows.
Every time he gets a passport or a parent is doing something with a passport, they're going to need that other parent there.
Okay. Maybe we can schedule it, and if not,
now, I'm going to tell you
we can try
up,
this form.
I've seen people have that form filled out, and they still wouldn't process it because of the trafficking issues with minors.
Okay, so just say you think I should just kind of take this form out of my head and just try to figure out a good time. Just like I said, he just traveled, so I was trying to do it and just get it done when I did my own.
That's the personal decision you're trying to ask me to make for you.
Oh, not really. Okay, fair enough.
Because that's a form I don't even teach on that form. So that form
yeah,
is their form for minors. So you got to follow those directions. And guess what? The best person to ask is calling up the Department of State and asking that question about that form. They're the perfect people for that form. My role is to show you how to do it as a national. That's all I can help you with. As far as what to do with the minor and how the other parent, you need to talk to the Department of State about that because they're going to guide you the best way on how to handle that. Like I said in the past, I think you can go up there with that form, notarized and everything, and you also need a copy of the
wouldn't give it to
all
them.
This stuff. And they
there are several things you have to have with this form,
so
I might just wait and figure out a time when he's back in town. It might be easier that way. Okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
And then I had one other question. I was completing the passport application, and the question.
Okay, that's enough on the passport application question. This is their show. I'm just helping them out.
I know. I was asking.
So if you want anything on the passport application, you got two choices. You can schedule a personal consultation with me because I have a consultation specifically for passport questions, or you can get on my show next week, and depending on the question, I may or may not answer it. Certain questions I don't answer in the public view of what we're doing because it can hinder the process. So most passport questions, I would say that would be a private consultation because I don't want anybody hearing this and then trying to circumvent what I teach. They'll try to close the door on you once they learn exactly what we're teaching. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. All right.
Well, thanks, ladies, again. It was a great call. I enjoyed all the information that you all talked about today. And, absolutely. I've been listening for several weeks, and I've just now been able to call in. So I will be looking forward to next week's call.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in. And, yes, you're going to want to tune in next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Okay. Well, next week we have everybody can hear us, right? Okay. Next week we have a guest speaker, and she's going to talk to us about actually how she's doing everything we're talking about. Anything I'm interested in or whatever I do, she does it times 10, it seems like. I mean, she lives in the city. She doesn't live in the country. She doesn't live on a farm, but she basically has her own farm and garden. I mean, she has animals. So she'll be able to talk to us about, what stipulations and how to, and hopefully she'll get her little YouTube channel up and running because people our age are not out here doing what she's doing or what we're doing. So, yeah, definitely informative if you're interested. And actually just be enlightened. Like, you can have chickens and you can actually do this and be productive and help other people. Like, we'll never run out of eggs. Like, it's just quite amazing. And I remember when she first told me she was going to get a couple of animals, and I was just like, what? Like, and building. Yeah, I'm like, how can you do that, And I learned little things. Like, I didn't know you couldn't have a rooster in the city. Like, it's just little stuff. And, I've just learned so much from her just because I'm, like, whatever I'm interested in, she's already ahead. She already knows it. So, but we got our website. Everybody is up.
Yeah, jtmuse.com.
Yes, and
thanks for tuning in tonight.
Yeah, and we will see you all next week. next Thursday at 7. Have a good night, everybody.